These cars are maintained to race standards, but tonight we see the cars that aren't maintained at all. The rust buckets in police camera action.
Between lanes 2 and 3. It's excess 120 miles an hour. Yankee 6, keep coming, keep coming. Still 130 southbound. He's crashed.
I'm in the pit lane at Thruxton racetrack, where these mechanics are waiting for their Peugeot touring car to come in. Every spring, strut and damper has to be maintained to the highest possible standard. This pit stop will take just a few seconds. Last year, 2 million cars failed their MOT due to bald or damaged tyres. Not every car can be maintained by a professional crew of mechanics, but you should never take to the road unless you know that your car has been properly maintained and is up to the job. Unlike this old Toyota pulled over on the streets of London, officers were shocked to find the tyres worn through to the metal and the battery rolling loose around the engine compartment. Police were amazed when they got this car back to their garage. They'd earlier spotted it on the A9 in the Scottish Highlands, but on this evidence, the driver would have been lucky to make it to his final destination. And this Hillman Avenger should have been left at home, out of harm's way. It's a struggle for the driver to keep even a semblance of a straight line. And when he does manage to negotiate the corner, his rear suspension gives up the ghost. Once safely in a garage, the Danish police discover the car is held together with little more than rust.
So bad you can't go busting into it, or we'll just run straight into the back of them.
It's not fog the police are worried about, but a motorist whose car is in serious trouble. The smoke screen is so thick, the New Zealand officer loses his way and drives off the motorway into the gutter. But it's soon obvious which road the offending car has taken.
Yeah, I'm following a vehicle onto the northwest motorway, which is I think just about blown his motor. I can't see exactly where he is, and I can't get close enough to him to stop him. No, I've got him now.
Sorry, control from this, we're taking over QP. When you're ready, please.
The driver makes his excuses and tries to claim he's only just noticed the problem.
Just what? I'm just trying to get it off the off-ramp so I can get it towed. Because I don't want to line up from here.
Turn it off.
Well, it's going to have to run down anyway.
Yep.
Well, it's only just blown. I couldn't stop back there, could I?
I saw you on Stanley Street. You could have stopped down there.
It only really got this like this. It wasn't that bad.
It was like this down on Stanley Street. I couldn't see coming up behind you.
Okay.
With better maintenance, perhaps the driver will have better luck in selling the car. A Mini Metro has recently been reported stolen in West London, and the police are on the lookout.
There you go, there you go. Is that the one? Yeah. Are you sure? Are you sure? Stand by.
Get in contact with it first.
X-ray 7 Oscar X-ray 18. Repeat the number of the index of the vehicle, over.
They radio in their exact position to the control room.
Yeah, northbound Central Avenue, over. Northbound Central Avenue, behind the vehicle now.
And once they've confirmed the Metro is stolen, they attempt to get the driver to pull over.
Yeah, X-ray Yankee, it's a pursuit, towards Oxbridge Road, going to Channel 12, Channel 12. Oscar, X-ray 18, active over.
The thief is in no mood to stop.
Yes, vehicle pursuit, Central Avenue, Hayes, towards, stand by, going left into Addison Way, over. Chasing a grey Metro, lost or stolen, down.
He tries to outwit the police using his local knowledge.
Towards the block of flats, looking probably for bailout. Seatbelts off, going for bailout, over.
But the plan backfires.
Go. He's in.
He suffered minor injuries and was later sentenced to 6 months supervision order. In every town across the UK, there's a site like this one in Watford, the final resting place for that beloved old banger. Every year, up to 10,000 cars are brought here to be crushed and then sent on for recycling. Some of them write-offs in road traffic accidents, others cars that should never have been on the road in the first place. But with over 7.5 million cars failing their MOT in 1997, it's pretty clear that more cars should come to the crusher sooner rather than later. Sadly, not enough people realise what an old banger really is. A death trap on wheels. And that's certainly the case with this car in Auckland, New Zealand, spotted by a camera crew filming a traffic cop on routine patrol.
Fine of $210 on this notice, sir. It's payable within 28 days of today's date to the New Zealand Police. There's a summary of your rights on the rear. Okay? All right. A car like that will kill somebody.
They're soon in pursuit, but the screeching vehicle seems to have disappeared.
I don't think we're going too far anyway.
No. Where'd he go? That way.
As they talk about the incident,
Careless driving, I think, would be appropriate, but I mean, it's bordering on dangerous, the way the car was.
there's a familiar noise in the background.
There's obviously is that him?
This time, the crippled car cannot escape.
PBI from AW. How's it going?
I'm driving like that, mate, because I'm trying to get to the mechanic to get it fixed. My wheel's just buckled on this side.
So you can afford to kill people driving in the car in a dangerous condition
That's why I'm
like
going
this?
real slow on the side of the road. I'm trying to get to a mechanic as soon as I can and get it off the road.
Nah, you're all over the place, mate. You're not going anywhere in this. I'll tell you that now. It's one of the worst cars I've seen for handling, because your wheels are all skew up.
Yeah.
They're all broken.
The driver was fined for his carelessness and ordered to resit his driving test. When the front car broke down on a Danish motorway, a friend helped out by giving him a push. But at speeds of more than 50 miles an hour, the police were less friendly and warned both drivers about their recklessness. A familiar sight on the A4, but not one broken down car.
Yeah.
Two.
Quick, get us on video, she's good.
I'm trying.
This convoy of wrecks and the driver of the tow truck are fined for carrying a dangerous load.
Saw a Honda Accord being towed behind a red Maestro there, being towed by a transit.
And he's on the mobile phone, look. Not on.
I don't believe it.
Every minute of every day, a vehicle is stolen. So how can you avoid buying what is, after all, somebody else's lost property? Well, this vehicle has been specially modified to highlight all of the evidence that it's a stolen vehicle. Proof that it's a wolf in sheep's clothing that could land you, the buyer, in jail. A classic case of buyer beware. This weld across the floor of the car shows that it's what's called a cut and shut. The front end of one stolen car cut off and welded to the rear end of another stolen car, and then, as it were, shut together. It's probably dangerous and certainly illegal. You also need to find where the vehicle identification number is. On this particular model, it's stamped on a plate here inside the engine compartment, although many manufacturers are also stamping the 17-digit number here inside the dash. Much more difficult for car thieves to tamper with. Also make sure that those numbers match the numbers on the vehicle registration document. But if you're in any doubt at all about the ownership of a vehicle that you're thinking of buying, then just walk away. Vehicle crime is falling, but far too many cars are still being stolen. Now here's a group of car thieves who wanted to turn another vehicle into a ringer. It's the middle of the night, and police have been following this stolen Metro for 20 minutes. The pursuing officers have now called in Chiltern Air Support Unit to provide much-needed backup from the sky. The thief has shown a complete disregard for other road users, pushing the stolen vehicle to speeds of up to 100 miles an hour. The officers are increasingly concerned about the safety of the general public and know they may soon have to take drastic action to end the pursuit. Now the driver has headed for the infamous Blackbird Leys estate in Oxford, where he hopes to evade capture. The helicopter's onboard thermal image camera shows the car's hot tyres as glowing white. The thief makes one more futile attempt to evade the officers. Only 14, he was sentenced to 6 months youth custody. In part 2, a holiday nightmare, a fight to a flight, and how this camera ended up on its side. Thousands of tourists flock to Scotland every year, drawn here by the magnificent countryside. But Scotland's roads present a particular challenge to visiting motorists who are more used to driving on long, straight motorways and dual carriageways where the traffic flows are separated by a central reservation. So driving a car that you're not used to, often on the opposite side of the road to the side you drive on at home, accidents are bound to happen, and most often at junctions. As in the case of this tourist who forgot the direction of oncoming traffic. Fortunately, officers from the Northern Constabulary were on hand to clear up the mess and cool down any frayed tempers. The tourist, a Chilean, driving a hire car, was warned for his careless driving, and he left the country the next day. Officers from Inverness thought it was a routine job stopping to help this stranded caravan on the A9 near Daviot, and positioned their patrol car, all lights flashing, to protect the holidaymakers. One stupid motorist demonstrated why this is good practice. But police know you can't rely on sensible driving. This time, it's a wheelie on a public road. Northern traffic officers were unimpressed with this Swedish tourist stunt driving. Wheelies may look impressive on camera, but to leave just one wheel on the ground on the public highway at high speed is sheer madness. But of course, it's not just foreign tourists who fail to obey the rules. This driver refuses to be delayed by the usual queue to get into Heathrow Airport. Despite cones being placed across the hard shoulder, the driver forces his way past the 3 blocked lanes. He probably thinks he's got away with it, but alert camera operators noted his details and put a fixed penalty notice in the next post. Police in Dorset are on the lookout for stolen Vauxhall Astras following a spate of thefts in the area. At first, this seems like an ordinary stop check on an innocent motorist. But the car was stolen, and the police were on the trail of the guilty car thieves. They try and shake off the highly trained police pursuit officers through the streets of Bournemouth. To the criminals, it's all a deadly game. Officers later discovered that they tossed a coin to decide whether to give up or make a run for it. It's important for the officers to keep a safe distance between the bandit car and themselves. They keep their siren wailing to warn other road users of impending danger. In the stolen Astra, the passenger certainly knows the risks he's taking. His brother killed himself fleeing in another stolen car. The criminals turned down a quiet residential lane. They've been unable to shake off the pursuit car and finally come to their senses. They decide to give up without a struggle. The driver was arrested and jailed for 1 year. His passenger put on probation for 2 years. This is a fantastic view, but to fully appreciate the beauty of the Scottish countryside, you should really leave your car and get out and take a look. It would only take a second to lose control, and then you'd be in serious trouble. It's a very long way down. Even in less dramatic surroundings, the most common cause of road traffic accidents is a lack of concentration. And sadly, examples are all too easy to find. Watch the van on the left.
Oh dear, we had a shunt.
And this metro driver failed to read the road. Working while driving is another cause of accidents. This motorist is too wrapped up working at his sales invoices to drive in a straight line and fails to notice the patrol car behind him. By the time he looks in his mirror, it's too late. His carelessness cost him dear. We all know smoking can kill, but this lorry driver is upping the odds, rolling his own cigarette whilst driving his truck and towing a caravan. A lethal combination that the police cannot ignore. Watch the red car on the right at the lights. Merseyside Special Police video bikers spotted the car failing to go through a green light. The reason? The driver is deep in conversation on his mobile phone.
Still green light, still.
The officer decides to investigate as the lights turn red. But he's in for a shock. The senseless driver panicked and knocked the officer off his bike. The end result? He was fined £250 for driving without due care and attention. For years, people have searched these waters for the Loch Ness Monster, and dedicated Nessie watchers have always craved that vital piece of information that really proves that she exists. But sadly, the whereabouts of the monster remain a mystery, as indeed do the driving habits of some people.
Cool. Is it maniac? The speed coming up. He's doing car up merchant, and oh my word, he's one of them. He's in and out, around the houses, Jill, up the near side again. 10 out of 10 for signals, 0 out of 10 for driving.
Police spotted this monster driver on the North Circular in London.
He's going up the near side of this lorry now.
Silly boy.
This should be interesting.
This should be really interesting.
Here he comes.
Chop out here. Here he comes.
2 feet behind.
And this dangerous display led to a charge of careless driving. As did this senselessness in Sweden, this pandemonium in Poland, and this foolishness in Finland. And finally, motorists in Northern Ireland were sent into a spin with the opening of a new motorway junction.